Hi there, it's time to look at hype through the Wyckoff lens. If you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key items I will cover during the session. So let's start with the weekly chart of hype. So last time we talked about basically it's likely a sign of weakness for hype, and indeed it showed that it's confirmed, I would say. Let's put it this way. So if we look at here, there's a little valley over there, and I did say there is a 20% chance of an LPSY. Depending on where it is going to close this week, presumably it's not going to close below this sign of weakness point at around $31.50. Then essentially we are already at an LPSY, where potentially whales are offloading more of their stocks. Okay, that's the pessimistic scenario, assuming the price will come down from this LPSY next week or the week after, getting closer and closer to the first stage of accumulation, the preliminary support stage. Okay, so last time we already talked about, I see there's a 60% chance of it coming down after this LPSY, and then 20% chance going back to challenge the green key level of $50.65. That's less likely as of this moment, because when we look at these volume bars, the red bars are pretty high, the whites lower. At best they are at average of the previous 2 to 3 months. So that's the big picture. Okay, but it's not zero chance towards the upside. Who knows what's going to come out in the news, right? And when we get into accumulation, we'll get to a point where we see the selling climax, where the panic selling is eventually over, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the lowest point in the accumulation. There can be subsequent tests and shakeouts that the big guys are going to grab whatever's available, shake out the weaker hands, and then they build up for the next distribution. So let's get to the daily chart and see what's going on. So after our last session forming the LPSY, the price dipped 2 times. The volume was a bit higher than the previous roughly 2 weeks time, but then gradually declining to close to average. And the red currently started to climb again. So this is not a sign towards the upside, but a sign towards the south. So I'm still observing whether this is a preliminary support stage for the daily time frame. So remember, this is different from the weekly, which weekly is more close to what Wyckoff method is originally designed for. Daily is not something that's like they used 100 years ago using this method. However, we've got these air hockey tables helping us. The price dropped to challenge, or dropped close to this light blue key level of around $28.25, and then bounces off from there, passes the blue key level of $30.05, then eventually get rejected from the purple key level of $37.15. So that's what's happening as of this moment. It's struggling along this center line of the downtrend. If it continues to stay above, which is less likely because you see this rejection, this long wick from the purple key level, right? And the volume bar that's higher than the previous 2 days, is signaling there are people still willing to push the price down from the current level. So for the next few days, it's going to be quite key, because if it continues to climb, unexpectedly, there are a couple of breakout opportunities. All right, assuming it's so good performing that it went to above $39.70. Right, the first breakout time point is near the second week of December. Then subsequently, if it didn't climb as crazy, just above the purple key level of $37.20 roughly, When we get closer to Christmas, okay, that's the confirmation. Whether the downtrend is going to continue or is it going to do a trend change towards a sideways trading or even like a slight uptrend. Then finally, this getting close to January 2026. If it trades sideways between this blue key level currently, where the support is, you see there's quite a bit of buying from the bottom at around $34. But then still get restrained by the $37.20 purple key level. When we get closer to the beginning of next year, there is another trend change confirmation opportunity, right? So that's what the daily chart is telling us. The key levels, the breakout opportunities. However, if you say, hey, if this is really just the preliminary support stage, then we are not at the selling climax yet. Here's the question for us. Here, that may be the preliminary support actually happened on November 21st, and what we have seen would probably be the selling climax, and what we're going through could be an automatic rally. Okay, this is not certain yet because, like I said, Wyckoff method is not designed for daily charts, so we're experimenting it, trying to, explore whether we can explain what's going on. So we have to go back to the big picture. This hasn't dropped into accumulation yet. If it really is going to come down, what's happening in the daily is temporary. Alright? If this is the selling climax and this is the automatic rally, and it trades sideways, then there can be deeper tests, much deeper tests, if this is getting back to the selling climax. Like I said, it may go as low as the red key level of $14.16 or even the long-term playground zone bottom of $10.20. Okay, roughly. So this is not the selling climax anymore. This can be the second test that can go very, very deep, or subsequent test that goes way deeper. Okay, so those two, I'll keep the question marks there, because for me it looks like they are all the PS, the preliminary support stage, not the actual selling climax and automatic rally. Alright, so I'll keep this for now. Next time when we come back to hype, we can take a look and see, after a week, what has actually happened. So thanks for joining me. See you in other sessions. Ciao.